History, history. Can you see, little boy, what you mean to me? Can you see how sweet our love has long grown to be? It's time to see the happiness I feel inside of me. Knowing one thing, darling, this love will always be two lovers, history. Ain't that two lovers, history?
Welcome to episode 28 of the History Bhoys Abroad. My name is Tony, and today we have a Lisbon Lion Special, and I'm joined by Fred. So Fred, tell me, you have just returned from Lisbon after what was an extended few days break, and I just want to ask you, talk me through the process. How did it all begin? Give a little bit more in depth as to what happened on that day when you and David first spoke about the plaque.
Yeah, well, I've had a fantastic few days, as you can imagine. Tiring, but extremely satisfying. Back in Spain now and reflecting on it all. Basically, the whole thing goes back some 6 or 7 months when David had gone to Lisbon to make his pilgrimage. He's actually gone for a weekend with his wife for a birthday celebration. And he took the opportunity to go out to the stadium. We spoke before he went out to talk about it. I'd been there a few years before when Celtic had played Benfica in the Champions League. The occasion when Celtic took the European Cup over to the stadium and allowed fans to turn up on the day of the match, I think it was, if I remember right. And you could go along and stand in the stadium. You could climb the stairs and be photographed with a cup, which I took the opportunity to do. So we talked about it before, about how exciting it is. Now it's something that's got to be done. He'd been looking forward to it for forever, really. And he sent me tons of pictures when he was there around the stadium. And he sent me a couple of pictures that he took in the courtyard of where the changing rooms are at the stadium. And he was lucky enough to get access to the changing rooms through the stadium director, a really nice chap called Paulo Pires, who gave them basically a guided tour around the facilities. And I hadn't seen that. I dare say most people don't get to see that because I don't know if people are aware that the changing rooms are not part of the main stadium block. They are the original stadium changing rooms, but they're part and parcel of a little sort of administrative block where the offices for the stadium are. And they're actually outside the amphitheatre, if you like, of the stadium. Hence the reason that when the players were changed and ready to go to the park, they had to go through the famous tunnel, which they were delayed in for a while, where the famous singing and the Celtic song took place. And then they emerged up the steps right onto the pitch behind the goal. That sort of iconic image of them emerging onto the park. And it's actually quite a long tunnel because it goes right under the amphitheatre, right under the terracing, basically, from that separate little block. Anyway, touring that, he noticed that there were 2 plaques on the walls of that little office block, one commemorating the Torino crash and one commemorating the English team who used it as a training camp. And he sent me pictures of all that, and then when he got back from Lisbon, we talked on the phone, and we were just sort of kicking around how what a shame it was that there wasn't something like that to commemorate our triumph in the European Cup. And David kind of said, do you think maybe we should? Do you think we could actually produce a plaque and maybe get it up on the wall? And as he was reminding me the other day in Lisbon, he said my immediate response without drawing breath was, "That's a beezer of an idea," which he took to be a good sign. So that was the inception of the idea, really, and from there it was really a question of garnering support and enthusiasm for the project. First, through the Portuguese authorities, who I have to say were tremendous from the start. They really got behind it, were extremely enthusiastic about it, and wanted it to happen. And we we engaged a designer. David engaged a designer to work up various drafts of what the plaque would actually look like. Some modern designs, some more traditional designs. We eventually settled on a classic non-triumphalist plaque that recorded not only all the members of Celtic who participated, but also the managers and also the players for Inter as well. Rather than making it all about just Celtic's plaque, we wanted to commemorate the match. And both David and I are friends of Paul McStay, who lives in Australia these days, and he was really helpful in giving us some access into a few key people at Celtic later on in the project who embraced it and really began to make things happen, making contact with Inter Milan and then engaging with the Portuguese authorities right up until the inauguration on Thursday of this week.
Quite an extensive amount of people involved then. So you and David had the conversation way back, and as you say, the inauguration happened on Thursday. Now, watching Celtic TV in the pub yesterday, you were popping all over the television in the pub, which was quite interesting. It's a pub we've actually both been in, so it was quite nice to see your face up there. So you said that Paul McStay was involved. Is there anyone else that you would like to thank who was also involved in the whole process to make things happen for you?
Well, yes. I mean, Paul played a vital part, and our thanks obviously go out to him, and also Rennie, the designer, who was very patient in sitting through and producing various drafts as we developed our ideas and made changes and what have you. The Portuguese authorities were fantastic. Paulo Pires, the Estádio Nacional director, is a lovely, lovely guy. He was not only a gentleman to David and his wife Sharon when they went to the stadium for that first visit, but on the day there on Thursday, he was terrific, and he organised and pushed for high level representation on the Portuguese side. I mean, we had the Portuguese Secretary of State there for the launch, as well as the Minister for Sport and Youth. So, and a ton of media. I mean, it was really quite surprising. I was blown away. David and I were both blown away by the attention that it got in the press over there. And Celtic themselves were terrific, accompanying John Clark, who came to inaugurate it, were Rona Cameron, who looks after not only the Lisbon Lions but the players in the current playing squad, organising all their diaries and activities around press and marketing opportunities and what have you, works tirelessly to do that, and it was pretty impressive to watch her doing her stuff the other day, and she really, really took care of John Clark. They had a lovely little relationship going. It was almost like Rona was his daughter or his granddaughter taking care of him. So it was really sweet to see the relationship. And Leith, who was there working for Celtic as well, capturing all the online presence, the media presence, tweeting live and uploading videos and photos and what have you. It was also working tirelessly there. And by no means least, the Lisbon Lion legend himself, it was John Clark, who was just a gentleman and wonderful throughout the entire event. It was absolutely roasting all day. We were all, really feeling the heat a little bit. And, he just waltzed through it, never a complaint, was being asked, loads and loads of questions from the media and loads of questions by everybody, including some from me, as we'll hear in this podcast. And he just took it all in his stride. It was absolutely fantastic, a real gentleman. And we had the privilege of hosting a dinner for him later on in the evening and listening to all these stories, and he sat on through that as well.
Are there any stories that you're wanting to share that maybe you haven't said on the later part of the podcast? Is there anything that you
I think he'd probably kill me if I did share a couple of the ones he told me. And having seen footage of him boxing on the park in the past, I don't think I'd like to take that risk, Tony. But I do share on the podcast as listeners will hear me retelling a story that some guys will know about John Clark, and it was nice to retell that, and also just to have a bit of confirmation behind it as well, as you'll hear.
I just want to ask one final question, and that's basically, how did it feel speaking to, interviewing, sharing moments with a Lisbon Lion in the stadium, in the dressing room, the same dressing room where Jock Stein, Sean Fallon, the Lions all sat. How did it feel like being part of that?
Well, I had taken along for the day my original wee Celtic jersey that I had from that era that was given to me as a birthday present from my grandparents, and John was kind enough to sign it for me, which was a special moment. And I basically was reduced to being that wee boy again. You know, I could not get the smile off my face for the duration of the day, or in fact the entire trip. So I just felt like a wee boy Celtic supporter again. It was absolutely magic, the whole event. But a couple of things that really stood out was being in the dressing room was especially prominent, if you like, because I had time there. We're sitting in a place which is historic, and John was sitting there where he would get changed for the game, and we enjoyed about a 10-minute period, just the two of us, just chatting away, as you'll hear, and he was sharing his thoughts not just on the past but on the current Celtic setup. That was fantastic, but also a brilliant moment was when David and I, when we obviously first turned up and were welcomed by everybody, met John. And then there was a little bit of a period of time where we were working out what was actually going to be happening. We were going to be waiting for the Portuguese government minister to arrive. And David and I decided to take a walk under the tunnel. We fancied doing that together like a wee pilgrimage. And we clattered along the tunnel, hugging each other, thinking this is just brilliant. And we got to the stairs where you emerge up onto the pitch. And as we climbed up the stairs, there, sitting at the top of the stairs, right on the park, at the top of the stairs was John Clarke. And the two of us just naturally sat down either side of him and started chatting away as casually as you like, here sitting, looking around the stadium, sitting on the park at the top of the stairs from the tunnel. And then suddenly we sort of turned round and there was just a sea of microphones and cameras from the press, and also TV cameras recording it all, and they just appeared out of nowhere. We were, David and I were both kind of like lost in our own world, I suppose, with John, and weren't really aware of the fact that they'd all assembled. And it was quite a funny moment, but it was a very, very special moment. I just kept I couldn't get the smile off my face, and that was something really, really special. And the weather was almost exactly as it would have been like on that day in Lisbon as well, so the whole thing was very evocative.
This is something that you're going to cherish for the rest of your life. You have now played a part in the history of Celtic. I guess now you are an official history boy abroad. You've been on the show quite a few times, or on the podcast quite a few times, but I just have to say thank you very, very much. Firstly, for putting up with me in the background, asking you, like, can you do this? Can you make sure you ask him this? And can you do this? And, like, can you send me photos and this and that? And, like, being patient with me, because, we've been talking about this for quite a long time, and to actually hear the end product and to listen to it, I couldn't be more happy, more grateful, and more proud of what you've done. And even though I have nothing to do with it, I feel extremely proud to be involved in the tiniest little way. So I just want to say thank you to you. I also want to say thank you to Claire Clarke, who is John Clarke's granddaughter, who had a word with her granddad to arrange the wee interview that we got, which you're going to hear in a bit. Thank you to everyone that was involved as well. It just sounds like an amazing trip, one that I unfortunately wasn't able to get to due to circumstances, but Fred, thank you very much. That was great. I
would like to thank you in turn, Tony, actually, because I was going anyway, obviously, and it would have been a special day for me. But the fact that you've got me up to speed recently and so quickly with all this new technology, which I hadn't managed before, has been interesting. And in fact, taking along the wee dictaphone and knowing that I also had this mission in the background to try and capture some audio for you gave it an extra wee dimension. I think, although you're saying that David and I created a wee bit of history, we do feel that. We're very proud of ourselves, and we're chuffed to bits, frankly. But we've said all along that it's not about us. It was about marking the Lisbon Lions. It was the fact that it wasn't formally recognised and physically in the stadium. There was something there for supporters to go and gaze on and take the photos with, other than the stadium itself. And it's really for the Lions. It's really for Celtic and also for the Portuguese authorities who constantly reminded us that they felt every bit as much a part of it as we did. I think I would have more than likely spent. I was obviously involved a lot in the actual unveiling. In fact, I played a hand in the unveiling and was involved a lot in it. And that would have been happening anyway. But in between times, I would have probably taken more of a back seat and just been quiet in the background, just taking it all in. The fact that you gave me this mission to record some audio gave me a more active role, if you like, in between times. And I relished it. And for me, it was a tremendous amount of fun, as well as a moment of pride, and a day I'll never forget. Genuinely one of the days of my life. And I hope that the listeners to the podcast get a little bit of that enthusiasm, and sincerely hope that they enjoy the files that I captured.
With that being said, would you do me the honour of introducing the podcast?
Well, I would. Welcome everybody to this special episode of History Bhoys Abroad. A field report in more ways than one, not only because I was a roving reporter on behalf of Tony and Gary and the other guys behind the scenes in the podcast, but also because what you'll hear now is just a little taste of the atmosphere of the day, reporting from the field of dreams for all Celtic supporters ever since that glorious day in May 1967. So I hope you enjoy this little commemoration of a day of destiny for Celtic. Hail, hail to one and all. So here we are on our way to the stadium, on our way to the Estádio Nacional. I've now been joined with my good friend David. If I could describe myself as the chief collaborator or chief plotter, if you like, on this project from its inception, I would describe David as the inspiration and the engine for driving it forward that's brought us to this day, the culmination of the inauguration and the plaque in about half an hour as we're approaching the ground now. David, we'll speak later about the, how we worked up the project, and a few wee stories behind the scenes for those listening. But just as we're on our way there, I don't know about you, but I actually feel, and I've felt this all morning since I woke up, I've actually got a wee bit of nerves in the stomach. I almost feel as if I'm going to a game.
Yeah, I'm very nervous actually. I can imagine how it's almost like the weather's just now, how it might have been when during at the time, 50 years ago, they were driving to the stadium, and I think one of the stories was they actually got lost. And at the moment we're a wee bit running 10 minutes late because we're supposed to be meeting these guys at 4 o'clock. And what time is it now? It's 1:30. So a wee bit nervous that we get there on time. We don't want to keep a Lisbon Lion waiting too long. But I remember the story that they got lost, the bus driver got lost, and the team, the weather was like this, nice and hot, sunny, about this time of the day, and it kind of sort of feels like that. We're on the bus, we're going to the game, going to the stadium, and great excitement ahead.
Absolutely. Now, we've already revealed that Lisbon Lion and legend John Clark is going to be doing the actual unveiling, but there are another few guests who are going to be at the ceremony. Yeah,
well, it seems to have caught the imagination of the locals as well, in the sense that whilst we consider it the biggest part of our history as a club, one of the points that was well made to me by one of the directors at Estádio Nacional is it's also their history. And today we've got a point turning up with them to help with unveiling is the Minister of Sport for Sport and Youth, Mr. Rebecca, who's the Minister, along with his Vice President as well, Mr. Pataco. So they're taking this serious as well, and it would seem as though there's, as he says, as much as their history as ours, which I think is quite nice.
It certainly is, yeah. And like I say, when we talk later, we'll talk about the various stages of the project. But one thing we can say is that everybody has been captured by great enthusiasm about this from the start, and everybody's been so nice and helping us in whatever which way they could, even down to Internazionale themselves supplying us with an authentic club crest of the era and stuff. So they've played their part as well. So
well, in a way, I think it's quite important to sort of do this the right way, and you can't just take Inter Milan's logo and plaster it up. So Celtic were really helpful with their relationships with Inter Milan and getting the permissions to use that. So to be fair, it was a huge team effort by quite a number of people involved with yourself in Spain. Fred, you were, the best proofreader in the world. You were the one who was relying on double proofreading to make sure that we had one go at this. And I said, Fred, just make a couple of things you like with. You said we had the arrangement of Inter Milan, and I had 2-1 or something. You have to change that. Yeah. The way that works. So no, that was good. Then we had Rennie in Dubai who did the design. And then Paul McStay herself, our mutual friend in Australia, who was very helpful in helping us get into the the access points into Celtic, because when you're dealing with something like this, I think sometimes you get one go at it really, and Paul was very helpful in that respect. And of course yourself, Fred, I thought sort of sage-like in your advice and being able to deal with Celtic and the best approach. Which we got there in the end, put it that way.
Well, thanks for that. When you say sage, you're looking at me as if you mean Yoda, but anyway, yes. At the very least he's green. So, well, we've left the urban sprawl and we're beginning to see a lot of greenery, and we know that the environs of the stadium, it's a beautiful stadium actually, the setting of it, and as everyone listening to this podcast will know, lots of greenery around the actual stadium itself. So I gather we're getting close, so we'll speak a wee bit later.
Good, it's
beautiful surface.
The boy says not to go on it, but
it's been treated. It's been treated with.
It's treated for the cup final, Benfica.
Aye. Okay. When is that's on the 27th actually?
But on the 25th here.
Is it 25th?
No, the 25th here is a massive day with Celtic support.
Oh yeah, they're all coming here. Yeah,
they're all coming here.
That's right.
John, at least there'll be some nice to consider.
There'll be a focal point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be another place of interest.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And the thing about it. But no, we left at 4:30. We want to be here early, you know.
Yeah, you've done well.
We've done well. I think we could have been here at 4:30. You know?
Yeah, we appreciate you.
No, it's really good. Here. Thanks very much for inviting us, and we're delighted to be here. You know.
Could you have
20,000? No, 38,000.
45. Yes. 45.
On the final here.
for the cup final?
For the cup final.
Yeah.
So David, sorry to bother you.
Sure.
Can you explain us, and everyone at home is wondering, who's this guy over here? A big important person. Can you explain us?
I can't actually explain. John is one of a team called the Lisbon Lions who just made a lot of people happy. These guys are absolutely heroes, and if we think about what was achieved, you know, certainly Celtic's never been able to do it in the last 50 years, and 50 years ago now, they were the first British team to win the European Cup, and that was just quite something. But I think the most amazing thing about it all is this team, they were all born within 30 miles, 50 kilometres of each other. Can you imagine that today? Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, they all have people from different nationalities, which is great, but the unique, it will never happen again. Such a unique event.
All Scottish.
All Scottish, all nearly Glasgow. Almost, within 30 miles of each other, these people were born. And it was such a, these people made us happy. These are heroes and legends.
There was no millionaires in the group. There was no million pesos.
But there were football players.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What did you first felt right here? The first feeling that you had here? 50 years.
When you come up the tunnel.
Naturally, when you come up the tunnel and it's a massive green and white, I don't think there were any Italians here at all. There was a massive green and white, and when you come up there, you still relive it again, and it's a great thing to relive, because as they said, it's a bunch of guys just for the one area, and it'll never be repeated again, Yeah. And we're delighted to have the word Lisbon along with Lions. We enjoy that,
How does it feel right now to be here and to be part of the history?
Well, I got out of my bed at 2 o'clock this morning to be up here, and it's great to be here. And honestly, the sun has come out also, so it's trying to relive the days along with us. The weather's good, and we played when the weather was good, and supporters enjoyed it, and it was a great occasion, and it still is a great occasion. We love it.
How do you feel when you look back and you see that? Can you explain what you made 50 years ago? Is it possible to explain for Celtic people?
I think if you look back 50 years ago, the club was blessed with a group of players who didn't feel inferior to anyone they played it. That they were confident, maybe a wee bit arrogant in their style, but they were confident enough that they knew they could get to the top. And we're a right good bunch of lads, and the ones that's about just now, we're still very close. The families are all close to each other, and it's a unique thing in world football.
Yes.
The closeness of these people, We have lost a few players, and unfortunately one of the guys that scored the winning goal, or not the winning goal, the equalising goal, had passed away there a few weeks ago. And Their captain's not very well, Billy McNeil, and the boy that scored the winning goal, he's not well either, you know. So we've had people passed away before that, the goalkeeper and such like, you know. So it's good to be part of it, and it's good to be here personally, you know, because after 50 years, you know, you're riding your luck a wee bit. You know.
You're entitled to it.
But you can't ask for any more. It's really, we're delighted to be here, you know. Unfortunately, I'm only one. We'll have there are 3 guys, but they're engaged back home. And there's another one here, but he can't get down. He's up in Algarve. He's doing a fundraising thing for cancer, and he can't be here. So, but the unfortunate thing about it is we would like to be together, but this is how life is, and I'm delighted here to represent the boys. You know.
And we're delighted to have you, John. You're absolutely one of our heroes. I'm in absolute awe. I know Fred is as well. From we were this age, John. Yeah. We looked up to you guys. We used to come and see you play, whether it's at Celtic or whether it's at Dundee, and the whole idea of coming and seeing you there means a lot to us.
When you look around about in the actual game, when you know, it was just a massive green and white. You know, it was a great occasion. You know? And we deserved to win the cup. We were a better team.
Played them off the park.
We played them off the park in the second half, and only for the goalkeeper to save them from maybe a heavier defeat. Yeah. But
That's actually
2-1's as good as 21.
That's actually a question I'd like to ask you, John, because although David and I have been working this project for 6-7 months now, but it's really been 50 years in the making, waiting for something. This is a point of pilgrimage for Celtic fans all over the world. Both of us have made our individual pilgrimages here, and it's fantastic to be here today with one of the men that actually made it possible. But one of the things that I'd like to ask you is, obviously I've seen reruns. I've watched the match so many times. I love putting on the match and watching it in its entirety. Because when you watch it in its entirety, you see see lots of things. You actually see how the game unfolds,
and you see things you maybe not have noticed at the actual time.
And you see the actual domination from the point when Inter scored and they sort of sat back, and then you guys just went at them. One of the questions I'd like to ask you is, it's also a fantastic achievement. Something we'll probably never replicate in our club's history. Here's hoping I'm wrong on that. But was it actually that hard a game to play in?
Well.
So I'll be supplementary to that. I think the heat, when I saw you guys in the sun and the sun beating down, and you never stopped running, I thought you guys must have had incredible fitness.
Well, we were trained properly as well. We had a right good manager, coach, if you want to talk about him. Jockstein was one of the best, and we were properly trained. But what would you say in any team or any way of life? That you'd one or two guys that liked the high life as well, But they made sure they were fit. And that day when we went 1 down, it wasn't a case of a stroke. We never gave that a thought. We come in at half time, and it was the same plan at half time of what it was at the beginning of the game. Have a go. You're here for it, have a go. But make sure that you're tight enough that you don't get caught in the break all the time, which they were quite famous for, So we made sure, and it worked for us, and at the end of the day, it was a tremendous result, And as you say, the crowd at this side all broke onto the field, didn't they? Really, the place was a massive. That was the only thing you missed. Maybe you hadn't a chance to maybe do the usual lap of honour with your cup. But who cares? The supporters do as well. And as I say, to the best photograph I think of any captain winning a cup is the one up here. And I think that's. You always remember that all the time when you see it,
The other thing about the match is that it really changed in many ways the European perspective, didn't it? In terms of the way that teams played. Because you defeated the Catenaccio, you defeated the Italian defensive system.
Well, people were getting a bit bored with it, but then all of a sudden it came back into the Celtic were an attacking team, people trying to develop their game. That's the way we played it, But at that time we had really good players. We had Jinky Johnson, who was a world class, and Barry Old and Bobby Murder, one of the best at his time, and we had good leadership from the captain Billy McNeil, and Tommy Gemmell was there, scored goals, and Ronnie Simpson was clever back heel, and at the time of the game when it was maybe a dangerous time of the game when that happens, you know.
And yourself, John?
Well, I didn't bother about that, you know. But, we thoroughly enjoyed it. And you're back here to enjoy it again.
Indeed.
Well, we're back here for a couple of hours and then we hit the road again, you know. But there was a load of, I think there's a big Celtic thing here on the 25th.
Yes, a lot of club people.
A lot of Celtic supporters will be here, you know.
Yeah.
And
there are some guys have cycled from Scotland, I gather.
That's
on their way.
Yeah, and they're coming with motorbikes and vintage cars, you know. Their parents had a way back to Camden, you know.
Amazing.
But
Yeah.
That's the first car I ever had, the Hellman Imp. That shows you how old I am, you know. But listen, no, it's great.
Did you go to the World Club Championship after this?
Yeah.
After this game, that wasn't.
Yeah, but you were boxing it that way, not rather
Is
than.
that where the big Battle of Montevideo was?
Yeah.
That's another story.
That chapter's still to come out yet. We're rewriting the history after that.
We've not produced the plaque for that yet.
The history will be rewritten again after
Can I
that.
just ask you to stand up just to take some image from you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
John?
Okay.
What's that, sorry? Chelsea, 2 seconds, guys.
All out stuff.
Calling to the Secretary of State to know if.
Okay.
It's on the way. I think.
Is that turning? Is that recording? There should be a wee number. I don't have my glasses.
Yes.
Is it?
Oh,
It's
wait.
recording? Are you on the call?
Yeah, I'm trying to call to the.
I just want to, for the podcast, because we've been involved in developing this project and we're working with a podcast of Celtic supporters all around the world called History Bhoys Abroad that put out podcast episodes talking about moments in history of the club's development, and there are contributors genuinely from all around the world. And I've been invited on a couple of times to talk about various things about Celtic, and when I told them, I gave them an insight that this was happening, and they asked if I could try to capture a little bit of the atmosphere on the day. So this is not my day job, okay? This is just. But if you wouldn't mind, you were talking there about, we were just talking about this momentous day. Obviously, we're so excited. I'm like a little boy again. But you were talking about what it means for you here. First of all, your official title.
Yeah, Vice President
Vice
of the
President.
Portuguese Institute of Sport.
Thank you very much, and thanks very much for talking to us. What does it mean for you here?
As I was talking, this is part of your history, but also of our history. So it's a great pleasure for us to have you today and to have all the Lions during the year and during all the years coming here. And I think now, from today away, we have an additional reason to all the Lions come here and take a picture and see our country, see Jamor, see the place where we were happy, and we are happy for this.
Fantastic.
Thank
John
you.
Clark, one of the actual Lions, was saying earlier on when we were speaking on the pitch that one of the things he likes is they have the nickname the Lisbon Lions, and it's something that can never be parted from the history of the club. The fact the word Lisbon, this place, this special place, is part and parcel of the history. So both Lisbon and Celtic are joined through the very name, the Lisbon Lions.
Yeah. It's a very interesting thing because it's the perfect match.
It is indeed, yeah.
Yes.
It was a perfect match actually 50 years
It
ago.
was.
If you sit and watch the match now, it was a perfect match. The triumph of attack over the classic Italian catenaccio defence system, which no one could quite break down, but Celtic found a way that day, and it changed European football really for years afterwards. Teams realised that this attacking style is part of our club's history, that we must attack. The supporters of Celtic do not accept if we don't attack. No, they don't accept.
Only attack.
No.
Always attack.
John was a defender. John was a sweeper,
Yeah.
and a very, very good one. And obviously, everything starts from the back in a football match. But the passion and the flair for attacking is part and parcel of the history of
the score.
Indeed, and that game was a beautiful match. Paulo, you're the stadium director here, I understand?
Yes.
Paulo Pires, I'm speaking to. I've made my pilgrimage here in the past. David made the pilgrimage six months ago, and from that we had the conversation about developing this project. What would you estimate in terms of the number of people that come here every year to visit the stadium? You must get quite a few Celtic supporters.
Yeah,
really?
Hundreds, lots of people. They're coming every year.
Yeah.
It's quite a pleasure to welcome them. We saw them with a little shy look, and we always joke at them. I'm reading your minds. You're coming from Celtic? Yeah, yes, great. Just come on to the grass and make your trip with us.
Well, that's fantastic.
It's good.
So you're always open to Celtic supporters coming along?
Whenever we can, just if we have some events that we cannot at all allow people to come in.
Sure.
But, otherwise, our doors are always open as our hearts for you.
Fantastic. Small matters like the Portuguese Cup final, for example.
Yeah,
small events like that.
Small events like that with
37,000
people in the stands. That's it.
And now I suppose you'll be able to, when supporters come, you'll be able to tell them, as well as looking onto the park, looking around the stadium, there will be somewhere they can come, stand under the plaque outside the dressing room where the Celtic team prepared for the match.
It's been refurbished.
It's been refurbished, well, but now they can at least take a photograph outside the plaque, which is outside the dressing room, which is fantastic as well. So thank you so much for being so amenable through the entire duration of this project. Your enthusiasm matched our enthusiasm to do this, and it's been an absolute pleasure. I've obviously been the man in the background. David is the engine of the project and has been the principal point of contact. But every conversation we would then have 10 conversations in the background and thinking about how to do this in the right way. And in the end, we're really happy we've gone for something which is a classic design. It reflects the participation of the other team who competed
and
for the final
involved the other team too, which is it was very nice of you, and it's one of the things that Spot has better to offer us all.
Well, that all came really from you guys being so open to the idea and being happy to do it. It meant that we realised that this is not just about a Celtic day, it's not just about a Celtic. There are a lot of people involved here. There's Portugal, there's Lisbon, there's Internazionale and there's Celtic, and it's been fantastic how everyone has played a part. Obviously Celtic have played a huge role as well, but Internazionale were kind enough to help out and be positive about the project as well, which is terrific, and we've reflected that on the plaque, I hope.
And as Mr. Pataco said, we share this page of history, and it's a nice page. We like it, and we are honoured to be a part of it too.
It's wonderful to hear. Well, thank you so much for making it possible and for speaking to us.
Thank you.
So here we are, actually sitting in the changing room where John was getting ready and gathering his thoughts, no doubt, before that final.
Yeah, but there were no women in when we were getting ready.
Ah, well, that's a pity.
All the women were out there when we were getting ready.
They've brightened the place up a bit since then.
That's the difference, it was the dressing room was completely changed. You wouldn't recognise it, It was kind of, what would you say, old, kind of dated, but you still get your kit on and your clothes here, and your shirts, but it's a lot better now. It looks good.
There's a lot of talk over the years and the various stories that come out with the lines about waiting in the tunnel, a wee bit of the nerves kicking in, singing the Celtic song. What about sitting in here in those few minutes before you went out with Jock? I mean, what was going on in here? What was the mood like at that time?
Just like any other game, when it's ready to go, you're ready. You understand, your body's built up for your mind's on alert all the time, you're A1 all the time with it, and once all the boys get together, then you're going out there and you're going out to do your best, and which we've done our best. But the thing about it is, it's the manager, he motivates you, but he doesn't have to motivate that day, He just calmed you down a wee bit when he had to do it, especially at half time,
And just let you go out and do what you...
At half time, you had to, maybe calm you down, because in case boys get maybe a wee bit overexcited because they were 1 down and want to get back in. No, we played the same way as we were told the first half, and the second half only we stepped up the pace of it.
I was going to ask you that. Well, actually, one of the guys in the podcast had asked that about, did you really believe when you went 1-0 down? I mean, it's okay saying, just keep doing what you're doing and it will come, but did you really believe, with the Italians at that time being the best in world football at the defence, did you really believe that you would overcome it during the game itself?
Well, as much as you can remember, even in the first half we had a lot of good chances. The keeper had good saves, but as the game went on, you would say that we grew into the game, as you say in football, but we stepped the pace up, and Inter Milan couldn't come along with us. And the thing about it is their goalkeeper had an exceptional game that day. The saves they had from a few of the boys, Bobby Murders especially, the one who stopped in the line.
That's right, yeah.
But to be honest, you've heard it before and that, but we had kind of guys that they didn't want to be second to end there, you know. And they like to say Bobby Murder playing, and Tommy Gemmell and Jinky and Bobby Lane. You go through them all, Willie Wallace, Billy the captain and that. And you're Ronnie the goalkeeper who like to flick a ball here and there, back heel, at the wrong time. You know, it came off for him right enough, you know.
Your heart must have been gone there.
Aye, but
what Jockstein said here at half time in this room.
I can't repeat it. I can't repeat it. All right. No, it's hard to. He wasn't a guy that come in and blasted you or shout. You know, he was. He knew how to calm you down, but he knew how also to lift you up, even though maybe you're one down. He knew how to get you there. Aye, but he knew how to lift you up a wee bit, even though. And all he asked you to do is play the way you were, but maybe try and raise the pace of the game a wee bit more, so and see how they couldn't react to it when we'd done that, you know. Because we had good players with pace, Lennox and all that, you know.
Can I ask you? You went through their catalogue of my boyhood heroes there when you went through the team. Can I ask you, who was your footballing hero when you were a boy?
Willie Fernie. Willie Fernie, midfield player.
Yes.
He was my hero.
Why?
I don't know, I just liked the style of play, the way when he was on the ball going by, he glided by people, you know. Mm-hmm. I liked him. I liked going and watching him when he was playing, you know. I must say that. And I played with Willie Fernie, I played with Charlie Tully, I played with Neil Morgan, played with all the big stars, you know. Even though you're only a boy then, you know. I wish you could go back there right enough, you know, and turn it back and stay there. Why did they make you go on rather than let us stay there, eh?
Let me ask you also, apart from obviously our Celtic heroes, what about opponents? Who would you say, looking back on your career, was maybe the best or maybe the hardest player that you had to go up against yourself? I should warn you, John, that if you say a Rangers player, it will probably be edited out. So,
well, no. If you're looking in your football career, the best thing you can do and say is you want to play against the best, right? In my time, in my era, the best was Pele, Eusebio, Greaves, Charlton, Law. You can't ask for any better, you know.
Yeah.
So that was the challenge you had because you played against these guys, and that's what you want. That's what you want to be as a footballer. Yeah. Play against the best, and you couldn't get any better names than what played. Indeed. George Best and all that, you know. Yeah. Bobby Charlton, Mazzola, Corzo, you know, they were fantastic players, and you say the names I've given you is the ones that was there. Yeah. You don't see them about now, you know. Not that type of player, I mean.
No, unfortunately. I'm salivating as you're going through those names. What about Celtic these days? It's incredible to think that you're actually the second longest serving servant of the club after Willie Maley, I think it is. And you've been part of the club for so long. What do you make of the setup these days? Did you not know that? No,
I didn't.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
I'll have to see Peter Lowell when I go back. I didn't know that, but that's, I'm very proud of that as well. But I'm not a stats man, you know what I mean? Yeah. I just take life as it comes. If it comes good, that's it. If it have a rocky time, sometimes you've got to accept it and go on with it, you know.
Part of the parcel of being the longest serving servant means that you're still part of the setup.
Yeah,
what do you make of it these days?
Oh, well, what's happened? The new manager came in, he brought a few players and he adjusted one or two positions and has went from there. And if supporters enjoy it, then you know you've got a team in your hands. And the thing now, we have got a decent team. And I dare say at the end of the season he'll improve in one or two positions to make it maybe a more forceful thing in the Champions League draw, you know, like the qualifying and that. But no, he's done very well. And when you get a full house, you know the supporters like it, and that's the difference having a bad team. Yeah. Supporters don't want to know it, but if you're good, they'll come out and they'll support you. as long as the product's right,
I've made the point a couple of times on the podcast when I've been on before that one of the exciting things in the current setup and under Brendan Rodgers is that we're really playing the game the Celtic way. It's attacking, it's passionate. If we go behind a goal, there doesn't seem to be any panic. It's a question of we'll get back into this and we'll win it, and we've done it.
Yeah, as I'm saying, the product just now is a satisfying thing for Celtic supporters abroad and at home, and for the whole club in general, for the people that run it. They're all satisfied to what they're seeing, and long may it continue. But as I say, I think Brendan will maybe go out at the close season and bring maybe an or two players in to improve with what he have, and you can only get better then,
I've got one more question in regards to the Lions themselves. I don't know if you've probably been asked this question before. I don't know. I've certainly never seen the answer to it. If the Lions had a weakness, we know all about the strengths. We've pored over it countless times, but if we had a weakness in the team...
That's some question, right? A weakness... No, the pool of players was really good, a pool of players that we had then, and... I think the weakness I had was maybe away from the ground, rather than on the ground, and but you'd have to be there at the time. You have to be there at the time to understand the personalities that was in the club,
Yeah.
And we had guys there that could run right off the field, and they could run right on the field, But the one thing that was important, and the one thing that we were made do was train hard. We trained hard all the time. We weren't allowed to kind of go down a gear, stay at a level all the time. And as I say, off the field you had one or two wee kind of, what do you call it, scallywags, or ragtags.
But without that, do you think the team would have been as good without that side of it?
Yeah, well, if you look back at the success I had, then they were right through another file, So there must have been something there, And I think the way back then, there were a lot of better individual players playing in Scottish football as well. If you, playing with Rangers, Hearts, Hib, Dundee and Aberdeen, they all had good players, And but you only live for what you have, Celtic's been my life, so I think they're a great, we were the best then, and unfortunately, and the thing about it is, as I said earlier on, that it's the passing by of the players that's left us, and the ones that's now ill. You've got guys like your captain who's very ill, Billy, and Stevie's not very well, and like Charlie Gallagher and such like. And they're only 4 years now who can do things back home. You're on demand all the time, but you've got to do it. You don't mind doing it. But the thing about it is, Willie Wallace will be home shortly, so you can join in at the end and the festivities and that,
Yeah.
But it's been good. We enjoyed it, and we've one or two big occasions coming up now, the big concert, and then we've one in London, and one or two elsewhere round about, and it's just good to be able to do it, touch wood.
Well, it's brilliant to be here. I think we're going to be unveiling the plaque itself in a moment, but before we do that, it would be remiss of me. I've brought a shirt along for the guy who runs the podcast, who's called Tony, and I'm going to ask you if you'd be kind enough to sign it for him.
We've got a jersey for the FA, is it?
For the Portuguese authorities,
yeah.
Fantastic. So I'll get you to sign that jersey for Tony, and just to thank you for not only for being here today to unveil the plaque, but we've done it for you guys.
I know, that's great. We really appreciate it, and we tried our best to get one or two more out, but unfortunately, as I say to you, the occasions came at the dates that other people had booked these guys, and they're unfortunate.
Well, there were some people asking why we weren't unveiling this plaque on the anniversary itself, but I mean, your diaries would have been chock-a-block.
But you'd never have got us there because of that concert thing,
exactly. So.
And it's you love it, you think I'm only talking about myself, but you're allowed to walk about, and you're fit enough to walk about, and.
Long may it continue, John.
Nah, touch wood. Well, I must have paid my dues up to the Almighty,
Are you pointing up to Jockstein there?
Yeah, no, but one higher again, But I just feel, everything else, I'm very grateful for what have been here, and you can't ask for any better, can you? You know, you can't ask for any more, you know.
On behalf of myself, a die-hard Celtic supporter, and all die-hard Celtic supporters, just thank you for what you gave us in our club's history.
And if possible, we buries up in the Algarve, but is doing a cancer fundraising along with Evan Williams.
Yeah.
Because Evan's wife died a couple of years ago.
Right.
So they're doing a golfing tour, and unfortunately, today is one of the big days.
There was a clash, yeah.
But that's what he told me, you know. But
did you take his clubs out of that charity event?
That. Sometimes I don't believe it. He's got a saying, and he always says it. And I know he's a great guy and all that, but when you're with a guy like 24 hours a day, maybe 2 or 3 days a week, and like all the other boys are with him, somebody will say to him, "Where were you born?" And you say, "Next to my mother," you know. And the thing about it, it's all right that way, but you hear that every day, maybe 4 and 5 hours a day. And you hear people saying, "Where were you born?" You know, "Next to my mother," you know. So, no, again, you know. But that's the enjoyable thing about it, you know.
It's maybe just as well he wasn't here, because I'm not sure I'd have had enough battery in this wee dictaphone if he had been.
I would say something now. While we were in here, you would hear him out there. No danger, you'd hear him. And I like all the characters, but when you're sitting with him in a plane maybe for 3 hours, and somebody will look over, "Where were you born there?" You know, "Next to my mother," you know. It's all right once or twice, isn't it? You know, you hear that all the time. But he's a good lad like the rest of them, you know.
Yeah.
As I say, we were right close people, but we're still the same, you know, than now. Even short as the numbers, but the families of the people, we're still very close to them, you know.
Yeah.
Everyone gets on well in that, you know.
Yeah.
And this guy's the biggest pest that God put in there. This guy, I don't know how we put him in the plane this morning, you know.
Well, I think we're still waiting.
We're
the Secretary of State to arrive. He's on his way.
We're trying to lose a ticket.
Of course you can. You fire in.
The boy in then.
Let's. It's all about you, John. It's all about you. Thanks for that, Dan.
No problem. Is that all right?
It's fantastic.
Hello, David. Here we are. Indeed. The day after the event, we're sitting here in a converted market down by the riverside in Lisbon. We've just had Time Out Market. It's very cool. We've had a nice evening of food and wine with our good friends here who've come along for the ride, and we're just reflecting between ourselves now in terms of what's happened the last couple of days, the event. And I mean, both of us, I think it's fair to say, haven't been able to get the smile off our faces for the last 2 days. Yesterday was just an amazing day.
That's right, Fred. I'm still buzzing from it even now after a good 30 hours later now it is, isn't it? And I think both of us just wouldn't have actually believed the feedback, the impact that this has had on Celtic supporters. The messages that we've seen. Can't wait to get over there. I'm definitely going to Lisbon now. Wanted to get that bucket list ticked. Got to get my photograph taken with us. And it's just a wee feeling that what we've done here is something special. We've really sort of, I think, been well rewarded, Fred, from the effort we put. There's a lot of effort that went into it, but you know what? It was well worth it. I'm sure you feel the same.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we're just kicking around thought just a couple of minutes ago there about, it was one of those ideas when we first had that conversation after you made your pilgrimage. And the idea came up, and we were talking about it and saying, we were just talking there about it could so easily have been an idea that just passes by. We talked about that would be a good idea to do that. You don't do anything about it, and you'd be kind of kicking yourself when the anniversary came along and think, wouldn't that have been good? But never in my wildest imagination could yesterday. It just excelled everything I imagined it could be.
Yeah. And if you've seen the local papers today, it just wasn't our imagination, it was the locals as well, because a key message that came over was with the people who run this magnificent stadium is that they're saying it's their history too. And I think that was one of the things that just really, it's our history, but they share it with us and they enjoy it, and they actually enjoy the fans coming over, enjoying the stadium, they're proud of it. And one of the things I think it came out yesterday was that how well behaved our fans, how respectful they are. You know, they don't go on the grass. Well, not all the time anyway.
Well, we did. we got told off for it though.
I know, we didn't think, hey, this is the thing, we didn't think there was anybody going to see it, so everybody had gone home. And there's like the janitors come running out going, oi, oi. And I said, how did they know we were on there?
Well, it wasn't until later on, when everybody had left, the press had gone, the TV cameras had been packed up, and Davey and I thought we'd recreate that moment when the final whistle went and there was the invasion of the fans. So we went up to the appropriate end, we walked around the stadium, went up to where Big Billy lifted the cup, walked right around the terrace and came down behind the goal where the
jumped the moat.
We jumped the moat, and then we did a mad, just the two of us, just running with our arms outstretched onto the park, right onto the park, past the goal, gone off our head, and we were enjoying it, starting to take a few photographs, and then suddenly the security guard appeared and gave us a right telling off. It wasn't until later when I went to phone taxis to take us away from the ground that went into his security office, and he's sitting there with a bank of TV screens, could see everything that was going on.
Recorded, yeah.
Because the stadium hasn't changed in 50 years. Never thought for a minute the technology hadn't changed, you know. Yeah. But this has been the culmination of a project that's been about 6-7 months in the making. Just briefly, for the benefit of the guys who listen to the podcast, David, why don't you just fill us in on basically how it took off?
Well, as I say, you know, it was a pilgrimage, as I've said before. Going to Mecca, it's one of the things that most Celtic fans, they watch the movies, they watch the YouTube, the DVDs, they've got them all. I always look for different pictures of it, different angles of it. But going and seeing it for yourself, there's no substitute. And if you've not been there, please go ahead and make that trip out there. It's well worth it. Anyway, Fred, going back to the trip that we did make, I noticed that there was a couple of plaques already on the dressing room block. One being from 2004 when England played there, Inglaterra it's called. They used it as our training camp in 2004. And then there was another one which was Torino, Benfica versus Torino. I think that was 1949. And the impact, the point of that plaque that was there was because unfortunately the plane crashed on the way back to Italy. So 2 plaques on the wall. Been there, and I just felt by the time I got home there should be a third. And I wrote to the guy who'd hosted us going round, and then in reality what I hadn't really sort of banked for, and we got lucky with that, Fred, is that we were pushed at an open door with someone who says, actually this is a good idea because this is good for us too. And so in a way we're kind of co-conspiring for a couple of months, exchanging emails, a couple of phone calls, and we did the designs, as you know, you saw them all, Fred. Got ranging from what we've got today, which is, you know, just factual and says it is, and nice comments that have come over is that it's classy, understated, but just right for us, to the very triumphalist one with Big Billy holding the cup up aloft and so on, and it was decided jointly with the stadium that the plaque that's gone up there is the one we'd went for. So at that stage it was, and I think the stadium was quite keen to involve Celtic. And I think the thing was to really, if we were going to make it happen, was to take it as far as we could, design-wise, logistics, dates, and then just make it an open goal for Celtic to pick this story up, pick it up, and get their blessing. I'm pretty sure we're always going to get their blessing, but the easier it made it for them to do, obviously, it was an easy decision for them. And I have to say, Celtic were very, very, once they got hold of it, their machine clicked into place. The PR, as you see, we've had amazing PR from this that's gone on it. Arranging for John Clark to come over, and that was a huge thing for us. Having dinner with John and the stories that would come out, and he was as fresh as I was saying, you know, he must get sick at sometimes about the number of times. What was it like doing this, and the cup, and how did you feel, and so on. He was as fresh as, almost like he was being asked the question for the first time, and I think that was just the mark of the man, professional right down to the end of it, and so full of energy.
He certainly was full of energy. I mean, we were wilting a wee bit in the heat by the end of the excitement yesterday, and John's, he's pushing on now. He's 76. It was a hot day yesterday in Lisbon, a day very like the day when we actually lifted the trophy, and he never wilted. He was there answering questions. He must have had 1,000 microphones pushed in front of his face, TV cameras, and right to the end he was professional and but also just really natural. Just a real down-to-earth guy. He knew he was in the company of real supporters. He knew he was in the company of people who were passionate about the whole project from the Portuguese side and ours. And he was very, very relaxed.
Very relaxed,
It was a pleasure. We had the great privilege, of course, to take him to dinner last night and hearing a lot of his football stories coming out. And full of them, and mind as sharp as a tack. Never forgot a name, anybody that we could throw at him. He knew exactly who they were, what they'd been responsible for. And some of the stories we heard behind the scenes were a privilege as well.
Well, I think that he'd be really pleased with the coverage that he's got. If you see the Portuguese papers today, centre page spread, and La Bola is the biggest sports newspaper over here. Full colour spread, big pictures of him, and I just laughed a wee bit because we knew him as a sweeper. They called him the brush.
I was also particularly pleased at the the brush. I was also particularly pleased that I asked him, because there was a story, my favourite story of John Clark is a story that David Provan told about being in a lift with him in New York sometime around about the early 80s or something like that. And I always thought it was an apocryphal story. I thought it was one of those urban myths. and I told it at the table last night, where David Provan apparently said that they were in New York for some particular reason, and that always struck me as being a wee bit odd. But they were in a hotel, and they were going up in a lift, and they stopped at a floor, just the two of them in the lift, and the lift door opened. For those guys listening to the podcast who haven't heard the story before, and Pelé got into the lift. And as he got into the lift, the door closed, nobody said anything, and Pelé turned to John Clark, looked at him in the face and said, "Scotland, Hampden, 1965. And John Clark just nodded. And then Pelé said, "Very good player." John Clark nodded again. So it stopped at a floor, the door opened, and Pelé was going to go out. He turned around and he said cheerio, and he got out and the doors closed. David Provan was off his nut going, what? Can you believe that? And John Clark just turned to him and went, "Who the hell was that?" I've always loved that story, and I've always thought it was, but he did confirm last night that actually it was true, and they were in New York for the premiere of the film Escape to Victory, and then he started to rhyme off all the celebrities, Michael Caine, all them that were there in the hotel that night. So it was a real pleasure to hear him confirm it, although he does claim now that he was winding David Provan up.
I think that it was. I've just we've finished a bottle of wine now, Fred. So we're all feeling good with ourselves. We're going home. I'm going home tomorrow. But just feel we've done something really nice, something special. And the more I think about these guys, they are true, real national treasures. And they just need to be looked after like racehorses between now and whenever. Let's face it, they're not going to be with us forever, Fred, and we must enjoy it.
Well, we've been really privileged in the last 2 days. We've done our bit, and to try and mark the moment in history, really, for us. It's meant so much for us all through our lives, and just hoping that other Celtic supporters take the opportunity to enjoy it, and that it means something to them as well in their individual pilgrimages to the stadium.
Indeed. And listen, Frank, Fred, I really enjoyed this. It's been great fun working with you, and hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant, mate. Well, safe trip back. We're going to leave it there. We'll finish off this wine and see you off the night in Lisbon. And this has been a field report on behalf of History Bhoys Abroad, going out to Celtic supporters around the globe. Hope you've enjoyed this special episode, and apart from anything else, I hope that I've actually hit the right buttons when I've been using this dictaphone and I've actually recorded any of this. So hail to one and all, and here's David and I signing off from Lisbon. Cheers.
Cheers. Hail.
and the sun burns into your eyes. You watch a plane flying across a clear blue sky. This is the day your life will surely change. This is the day when things fall into place. You could have done anything if you wanted, and all your friends and family think that you're lucky. But the side of you that never sees when you're left alone with the memories that hold your life together like glue. You fall back again, and the sun burns into your eyes. You watch a plane flying across a clear blue sky. This is the day your life will show.